All right, let's dive right into one of history's most absolutely unbelievable true stories. This is the tale of a man who seemed to have a personal, one-sided argument with death, and he always won.
So you might be looking at this and thinking, okay, sounds like some over-the-top action movie hero, right? Well, this isn't fiction. This was a real person, Lieutenant General Sir Adrian Carton de Wirt. His life story reads more like a legend than a biography. So let's unpack the story of the unkillable soldier.
So where does a guy like this even come from? Well, his beginning is just as surprising as his survival stories. It all started with a very privileged but very rebellious youth.
He was born in Brussels into some serious high society. His dad was a big-shot lawyer and diplomat, but the rumor mill was always buzzing that his real father was actually the King of Belgium. He was eventually sent off to Oxford to study law, but Adrian, well, he found the idea of a battlefield way more exciting than a courtroom.
He wanted to fight so badly that when the Second Boer War kicked off, he wasn't about to let a few little things like rules get in his way. He was only 19, and he was Belgian, so he just lied. He called himself Trooper Carton, pretended he was 25, and said he was British, all for a shot at the front lines. And his first experience of war? Yeah, it was short-lived. He gets shot in the stomach and the groin, which not only sends him to the hospital, but completely blows his cover. His real identity gets discovered, and he's shipped right back to England. For most people, that would be a pretty clear sign to pick a different career. For Adrian, it was just a warm-up.
After a stint in India that he found, and I mean this, painfully boring, he finally got the action he'd been craving when World War I broke out. But the price of admission to this war was going to be steep, paid for with pieces of his own body.
Before he even sets foot on the Western Front, he gets diverted to British Somaliland to fight a local leader nicknamed the Mad Mullah. In one of his first big fights, he charges an enemy fort and immediately gets shot twice in the face, which really messed up his ear and his eye.
The wounds were so bad they had to remove his left eye. Now for anyone else, that's a tragedy, but for Adrian Carton de Wirt, he saw it as a golden ticket. Why? Because the injury meant he could finally get transferred to the main event, the war in Europe. The doctors told him he had to wear a glass eye, but on his way home from getting it fitted, he just chucked it out of a taxi window. He wore a black patch for the rest of his life instead.
So he gets to France, and things just get crazier. During one battle, an artillery shell explodes nearby, and his left hand is just obliterated. And in this cruel, perfect twist of irony, it was the one and only day he had ever decided to wear a wristwatch, which was now just a bunch of metal shards stuck in his arm. So he gets to the medical tent. His hand is a mess, and he just asks the doctors to get rid of his mangled fingers. But they refused, saying it was just too risky. You can just imagine him lying there, frustrated, with this useless hand, while the surgeons are too afraid to touch it.
He got so fed up with waiting, he eventually found a doctor and basically demanded he amputate the entire hand at the wrist. He just wanted to get back to the fight, and his own hand was slowing him down.
And the list just keeps going. Across the most infamous battles you can think of, the Somme, Passchendaele, Cambrai, he was also shot clean through the back of his head, through his hip, through his leg, and through his other ear. And every single time, he got patched up and went right back for more.
Okay, let's just take a second here. One eye, one hand, and a body that's basically a roadmap of bullet holes. For literally any other human being, that's the end of the line. That's the end of their story. But for this guy, we're not even halfway done.
So, World War I finally ends. The world breathes a collective sigh of relief. And Adrian? He finds peacetime, in his own words, intolerably boring. So, what does he do? Naturally, he goes looking for another war.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The guy was a professional conflict hopper. After the Great War, he heads off to Poland as part of a British military mission, which, wouldn't you know it, puts him smack in the middle of the Polish-Soviet War. Exactly where he wanted to be.
And his time in Poland was, you guessed it, absolutely insane. He survives not one, but 2 plane crashes. On another occasion, his train gets attacked by Soviet Cossacks, and he ends up in a firefight while literally hanging off the side of the moving train. To him, this was just another Tuesday.
You'd really think, after all that, he'd finally call it a day. But nope. When World War II rolls around, he re-enlists and kicks off a whole new chapter in his ridiculous life.
And you have to understand, he was 60 years old. 60! At an age when most people are thinking about a quiet life in a garden, Adrian Carton de Wirt was putting his uniform back on to go fight the Germans in Norway.
His next mission was supposed to be in Yugoslavia, but of course, his plane crashed. This time, it went down in the Mediterranean Sea, right off the coast of Libya, which was controlled by the Italians. He swam to shore, only to be immediately arrested and taken as a prisoner of war.
So now he's a POW. Did that slow him down? Of course not. Over 3 years, he tried to escape 5 times. On one attempt, this 61-year-old, one-eyed, one-handed man who couldn't speak a lick of Italian successfully escaped and stayed on the run for 8 days, disguised as a local peasant. His legend just kept growing.
When Italy finally surrendered, he was released and sent to meet Winston Churchill. Churchill gives him a new gig, his personal representative in China. And while he was there, he famously met Mao Zedong, sat through one of his long-winded communist speeches, and bluntly told him to cut the chatter and focus on fighting the Japanese.
So after all of this, all the chaos, all the pain, all the near-death experiences, you have to wonder, what did he think about his own life? Well, his own conclusion might just be the most shocking part of this whole incredible story.
In his autobiography, after recounting all the battles, all the lost limbs, and all the bullet holes, he summed it all up with this simple, astonishing line. Frankly, I enjoyed the war. He didn't just endure it, he actually loved it.
And that's really the thing that sticks with you, isn't it? It's one thing to survive the unimaginable, but it's another thing entirely to seek it out, to revel in it, to feel most alive when death is right there next to you. It really makes you wonder, what makes a person not just endure that kind of fire, but come out on the other side smiling?